Hello everyone, you are welcome on the Super Flow. Today we will see client server architecture with a Spring Boot demo. We can create a Spring Boot application from Spring Initializer, that is start.spring.io, https start.spring.io. Okay, now the core idea. Client server is a distributed computing model where work is split between the two kinds of programs. That is, one is a client and one is a server. So if you see this, here are multiple clients ABC. It is going through a network and talking to server. Okay, and then this is going back to the that we have via network. It is getting the response from server, and server is interacting with database. So this is how it is happening. Role: request a service, client request a service, and server provides the service. Okay, initiates, yes, always speaks first. So client always speaks first. So here from Postman, I will hit something and I got a response. So this Postman, using Postman, this Postman is client and this is the my application that is running. This is the server. Okay, so this is application is running. I'm using map to store the data, not database directly here. So this is server Spring Boot, and lifetime short lived. When I just stand there, I got a response. This is 200. This is okay, done. But here Spring Boot app is still running. Okay, how I can verify that? So it is running on port 080. So I will just load here. You will see white label error page, means Spring Boot app is running. Browse examples, browsers, mobile app, curl, another microservice. Okay, it is web API server, database mail server. Okay, there are key characteristics: request response cycle. So it goes through a request response cycle. I requested something, I got a response. That is separation of concern. Centralized data. Interviewer might ask these questions: what is key characteristics of client server architecture? Then you can tell request response cycle, separation of concerns, centralized data, stateless, HTTP, REST, contract driven. Then here we have tire. Now we will go here. Okay, and here we will see something. How many tires? One tier. One tier is desktop app. UI, rules, local file, all is one place. No network, so no client and no server. No way for two people to share the same data. This is desktop app. Second is two tier. Okay, and two tier application is client and database. The client talks to database and get a response from database. The think client. Logic lives in the client or in stored procedures, and every client holds database credentials. Changing a rule means deploying to every desktop. Okay, now three tier. Three tier is client, application server, and then database. Client interact with application server, application server interact with database. Logic resides within server. that is application server. This is controller service repository. We will see here something. This is controller folder. I open this, I get this REST controller. This is controller. Now we have something called service. This is service. Here we write business logics. And now we have repository. Here we write our database things. Okay. And then it goes to storage. And this is client. This is used for presentation only. So if I open this Postman, this is client. This is used for presentation. Okay. Now you see 1, 2, T3 and N tier, right? Now let's see N tier. So in N tier we have client is web, mobile, partners, and API gateway will be second layer. That is routing, auth, rate limits. All things will be using API gateway. So client interact with API gateway, and then API gateway will allow to go through services. Only after it will allow we will go to service, otherwise we will not go. Okay, and then service will allow to go to database, and it will be allowed by service based on the business logics. Microservices, the same client server relationship repeated. Each service is a server to the gateway and a client to the database. You buy independent deployment and pay in network hops and operational surface. These are some theory you can remember, but main thing is you API gateway here. This is very much important thing in system design because it is used for routing or rate limits more than these things. Now we'll go here again where Spring Boot feeds. Embedded Tomcat starts and binds to a port. Okay, when I start the application, you will see something Tomcat web server. Okay, and you will see Tomcat started on port 8080. So this means embedded Tomcat starts and binds to port 8080. This is HTTP socket listener. You don't deploy a WAR to any external server. Dispatcher service servlet. Spring MVC's front controller. This will be front controller of the Spring MVC. Receives every incoming HTTP request first. Now let's go here. So here comes the client. Client sends a request. It is in blue. You can see here. This is request. This is going to request, and green is response. Okay, and embedded Tomcat. This is accept sockets, assigns worker thread. Then we have dispatcher servlet. This is maps URL to handler, binds arguments. Then we have controller. Then we have service. Then we have repository. Right? If let's look here. So I am calling one API student 1. Okay, and I will do. So here you will see client opens the connection at a TCP connection to localhost 8080. Then a request line and headers written onto it. Nothing else has happened yet. The server is only listening. Okay. If I go here and open the Postman, nothing is happening. The server is just listening until I will start. Okay. So I will start, and then it is client. It is calling this API. Okay, then next it is going to embedded Tomcat accepts the socket. Embedded Tomcat is the actual listener on port 8080. It takes a worker thread from its pool and hands the request to it. Your code will run on that thread. So Tomcat what does? It is a listener. So it takes request and provides its worker thread, and now that thread will work. For example, this is the thread, so it will start working. Okay, you can see something like this, right? Now next, it is going to dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet takes over. Springs front controller receives every request. Handler mapping matches to the method and map path to exactly one Java method. So now this is Spring's first front controller. It receives every request. So whatever request it is going, our request will be going to dispatcher servlet, and then handler mapping matches the method and path to exactly one Java method, because in controller there will be multiple Java methods. So this is going to be for only one. Now next it will go to controller. I am doing back, so it is mapping to get by ID. This means get by ID is the method. So next, get by ID is the method inside controller. So controller, what it is doing, here is path variable. It is taking ID from the path and going to passing to service. Okay, passing to service. So an argument resolver converts the path segment 1 from text into a log. The controller does no business work, it hands straight off to service. Okay, now next, now it is going to service. Service is taking that ID and it is calling this repository. Okay, and then if not found, then doing no such element exception, it will throw. Next, the only layer that knows how data is stored. Today concurrent hash map swap. Today we are using concurrent hash map. Okay, so I am using concurrent hash map. Swap it for Postgres and nothing ever this line changes. So now if you want to in real world, we will be not using map, we will be using some real database. Okay, so you can swap that. Now store.get 1 and then we'll get something kind of this. Okay, and then it will next step. Again it is going to student service. Now this is response. Earlier was request, now this is response. So the student object travels from the way it came. Still a Java object, no JSON exists yet. It is still a Java object, it is going to student service. Next it is going to controller. Controller returns the object because the class is REST controller. The return value becomes the response body instead of a view name. So here this REST controller is the combination of controller and response body. So it is controller plus response body, so response will be passed. Next, an HTTP message converter, that is turns the Java object into JSON, choosing the format from the client's except header. This is where serialization actually happens. So what will happen, the Java object will be converted to JSON format, and that will be going to be for client. Tomcat writes the response, status line, headers, then the body, back down the same socket. The worker thread is released to the pool. Tomcat what does, it sends like this: status and content type. Client receives the data and client passes it, and that's all. The client will get some data here, right, in JSON format. That's it. And also client will get some 200 OK, right, status. Now let's see the code. So here we have controller. Inside controller we have get mapping. Here get by ID, which is going ID here. Beside, then it is going into get by ID. Get by ID no will throw no such exception. Let's do that. So what I will do, I will run another one. Let's before that run the post one. Otherwise, if you want to see, let's do the get one, because we did get. Let's do the get. So client asks for a missing student. Okay, nothing about the request. Request goes like the earlier. It goes to embedded Tomcat. Then it goes to dispatcher servlet. Then it goes to controller. Then it goes to student service. Then it goes to student repository. Here the actual thing happens. In database this is not present. Okay, here we are using concurrent map. Here we are using concurrent hash map. Okay, here we will be using database. So in database it is empty. Okay, now next step it is going that no such element exception. It is throwing the exception, then it is catching the exception. Okay, by REST controller advice, we have written the REST controller advice here in exception here. Okay, so let's do that. Here I will do 10 and send this. It is saying no student with ID 10. Okay, now next, the advice catches it. REST control advice intercepts the exception before it reaches the servlet container. Okay, and turns it to a proper HTTP answer. Then it goes to dispatcher servlet. Then without the advice this would have been 500 stack trace. Now what happens, it sends to embedded Tomcat 404 not found. Then it goes to client, that error is no student with ID, that ID number. Now let's look into post. Post carries a JSON body and declares its type. There is no ID. The client does not get to choose one. So what happens in post? In post we pass some data with along with our REST our call. So Here you will see something kind of layered structure. The same thing we have said, like here it is. So this is demo code, you can look into, and this is running, how you can run this. Okay, and you can go one by one. First you will create the project, then you can put these things into not this one, not this one, just this one, this one, put into side dependencies like pom.xml. Here inside dependencies you can put that web and validation. Okay, and then entry point, here it will be there. You can just start the app and you will see that this one. Okay, now you will create one folder with model and add this one, with repository this one, and with service this one. You create folders and put in controller, you will put this one. For error handling, either you can put in controller, because here you see this is complete example, the demo.controller package is there, so you can put inside controller. Otherwise you can just create one exception file and put into that, and just rename this to here. You can just remove this and put the exception one. It will be controller, you will put the exception one. Okay, this is the only thing. Then run and will call and interact with this call, install the Postman and just do this hands on. It will be much helpful, and try to see the logs, what is happening inside logs. This will be much helpful for understanding. You can see something every time we are calling, we are getting dispatcher servlet, right? It's not every time we are calling is at first it is initializing dispatcher servlet, right? So this is something Tomcat started coded. Then we'll see post one. Okay, post will do client sends the body, Tomcat reads the body, then initialize, then validate. Okay, this is a valid annotation we have used to validate, and then controller accepts it, then service types the ID, then the repository assigns an ID, then it goes the returns the same way, returns to client. Now we'll see who does what. Client, cert live, and there are many of them. It knows the server's address. This is some theory things you can understand, read and understand. Meanwhile, I will try to get you. So always speaks first, waits then answers. Right? Practically what we have seen, right? It is long running, one logical instance, supports the rules and the data. It does not use, it responds, and it is cert live, and there are many of them, because we can create like here many tabs, right? Many tabs you can create and open that. Both the contract protocol HTTP or over HTTP, host and port, method plus path, JSON declared by content type, and then a status code. Okay, then we have statelessness. This is important. Why every request repeats itself. Each request carries everything the server needs to insert it. headers, body, credentials, nothing is remembered between calls. It feels wasteful, it buys you horizontal scaling, because we will see horizontal and vertical scaling more depth. Any instance can serve any requests, so you can horizontal scaling, and also we see statelessness. Now we mainly in this video our focus was in client and server. I hope you understood this, and if yes, then please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Here this is the like post and put and delete one, and respective what we are getting status code and what we are getting data. This presentation, this is the code actually I have code attached in this here as well, so you can look from here, and I will provide the URL of this GitHub. You can look into it. So I hope you understood client server architecture clearly. If yes, please subscribe to this channel. Thanks.